views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
Hello, my name is Patty Hunter. Welcome to my TV show, Patty's Page. Today's special guest is David Cooke, and he is the campaigns manager of Campaign Life Coalition. Where is the Campaign Life Coalition located?
Well, thank you for having me on your show, Patty. It's a pleasure
Welcome.
to be here.
Thank you.
Campaign Life Coalition is located in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
Right.
And we are Canada's preeminent national nonprofit pro-life, pro-family advocacy organization. So we've been around since about 1978, and we're probably the biggest and most well-known pro-life organization in the country.
Do you work with pro-life politicians?
Yes, we do. Yes. No, they're getting harder to find these
Well,
days.
do you know Rod Taylor?
Yeah, the Christian Heritage Party. Yes, he's a friend of mine. Yes.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He's a friend of ours too. We've been voting for him as well, eh?
Yeah.
He's been on my show.
Oh,
So,
great.
So who founded Campaign Life Coalition and why was it formed?
Well, it was founded by two different groups came together in 1978.
Mm-hmm.
A number of pro-life leaders who were working since the passage of the Omnibus Bill in 1969 under Pierre Trudeau.
Oh,
Basically liberalized abortion, homosexuality, divorce, and other things. So there was a desire to respond, and organizations formed, and then they came together to form Campaign Life Coalition in 78.
so what actually do you do with the coalition? What do you do?
Well, we the coalition as a whole, we lobby the government, we reach out to politicians, we work with pro-life leaders and politicians. I am the campaigns manager, so I'm working on developing and implementing campaigns, so petition campaigns, advocacy campaigns. We'll host meetings with politicians. We are going to do different press conferences. And our biggest event every year is the National March for Life, held in Ottawa in May. This year, it's held in the middle of May. And it's the single largest annual protest of any kind in the nation. And we're the ones who put that together. So that's one of our big efforts. I'm
going to be interviewing Debbie Duval another month or so, and great. She's March for Life herself, Yes, yeah, I work with her. She's part of Campaign Life Coalition Ottawa. She's a lovely lady, Yes, definitely. Very strong against abortion. So, when did you become the campaigns manager?
It was about 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember exactly. I had been working at not Campaign Life, at Citizen Go Canada. Mm-hmm. I was their director, their national director here in Canada for 2 years. Right. And then after that, I came over to Campaign Life. So that was about 4 years ago or so.
And your duties yourself, like you put on, like you said, do you tour?
Yeah, I do. I do some speaking in different venues. Like I'll go to churches and speak, or different conferences. So yeah, and we'll do different meetings or different demonstrations in different places. So I'm here and there and everywhere.
So you do Zoom as well as rallies physically?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
online?
Yeah. Of course, I mean, with the COVID situation, that
Yeah.
made everything kind of be online for a couple of years, but now we're pretty well back to getting back to normal.
But what's normal?
Well,
I had
yes.
COVID 5 times.
Did you? Oh, wow.
Yeah, wow. Transgendering. That's a heavy topic. Seems to be the going thing around the world. I'd like to know why.
It's very trendy now. Trans is trendy.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it is. It's really a fad. It's not it's not the discovery of some new human species, as some people might want to make you believe it is, but it's really a trend where people are saying we can just decide to be, whatever we want, whether we're male or female or not, or 52 other genders that we can be, or non-binary, or it's just it's the spirit of the age right now that we are encountering, and that you can just be whatever you want, and you don't have to play by God's rules for your identity anymore. So
Satan is what's doing this.
I firmly believe that. Yes.
Spreading the lie that you can do anything you want without God's consent.
Yeah.
That is so not right. We were made in God's own image.
Exactly.
And we're made male and female. We're not supposed to muck about and do something that is against nature and against him.
Right. And he's a good God. He even hardwired it in there. It's in our genes, our chromosomes. Our bodies are different. It's all there, but that doesn't stop people from trying to mess with it.
They're getting weirder and weirder as the years go on,
Yeah,
that's for sure. How can we put the brakes on?
Yeah,
that's what I want to know.
Yeah. Well, we need to pray for sure. We need revival in our lands. I think it starts with prayer and people getting in touch with God, again. I think
to help educate them.
Yeah.
Show them what the truth is, not what garbage is out there,
Yeah. I mean, like any trend, things that are trendy don't often have a lot of, let's say, a lot of foundation underneath them. They tend to be, very nebulous and shifting and emotion driven. So, like a lot of trends, there's not a lot of grounding under it. So we need to expose that. We need to educate. We need to inform and help people to understand the reality of how God made us.
How would you go about this besides this show and others? How would you go about trying to say to a person who believes in transgender changing? How would you approach someone who hasn't done it yet, but will or try to?
Well,
put you on the spot, didn't I?
Yeah, there. I know people who have transitioned and switched and they regretted it, and they have detransitioned. So their stories are compelling. They will tell you of the hurt and the loss. I mean, there's the story of the lady in Ontario, Michelle Zakinya, who was who transitioned. I put that in quotation marks. She's a woman, and she tried to pretend to be a man in her 20s, and then 10 years later, she after they removed her breasts and they removed her uterus, and she was still actually, she was even more depressed and more confused. She realized, she'd gone down the wrong path, and she'll tell you, and there are a lot of stories of ex-trans. I think that's perhaps the most compelling way to wake someone up. Let someone hear another person's story of what it really does and what it means. You can't have children anymore. Your life has been permanently altered. You don't sound the same. You don't look the same. Your body's been mutilated. So that's one thing. And then there are facts. There are scientific facts. For young people, youth, children who might be confused about their gender identity, or they might want to follow this fad. The fact is 98% of children who say they're transgender, when they reach adulthood, they accept their true biological God-given sex. So, I mean, that's a fact. That's scientific. There are papers written. So the science backs it up too. There's a lot of ways we can try to help people understand this if they will listen.
What age group are we talking about here, transgendering?
Well, there are all kinds of age groups. I mean, we're very concerned about children, and right now, of course, more and more children, and I mean children right down to young children who are going this route. I think some of the youngest children, it's more the parents who are leading them down this path. But but there are adults who try it too. But I mean, when you're an adult, you're 30 or 40, and you're kind of responsible for your own mistakes. I'm a little more concerned about the children, but especially because it's so faddish right now that we get a lot of children sucked into this ideology.
You should blame the parents, but they're all mixed up themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. A lot of them want to be very, I don't know if a lot of it's just how popular social media is, and parents, they want to have a celebrity kid, and they want to get lots of attention online, and they know this is a trend, and they want to be progressive and say, hey, we're not telling our child to be one way or the other, or actually maybe they are, but they're not realizing by saying that we're not going to raise our son as a son, that actually they are influencing their child to go in the other direction. So, I mean, I do put a lot of blame on the parents these days.
I think that's abuse, neglect.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think even 10, 15 years ago, it'd be a no-brainer. This is abusive.
Yeah.
But now, yeah.
Trudeau is not helping.
Justin Trudeau is not, he's helping in the other direction. I mean, there was a recent bill passed just a couple of years ago, December 2021, Bill C-4. And it was called the conversion therapy ban, but really what it is it's a piece of legislation that makes it illegal, basically, to say that you shouldn't transition. So, if you try to stop someone, especially a young person, from experimenting or taking these sex change drugs, puberty blockers, or going down the path of actual butcher surgery, if you try to stop them, you're committing conversion therapy. Under this bill, you could go to jail for 5 years, even as a parent. So he's hard to speak out against this.
Is that almost like dictatorship?
Well, I tell you, in that bill that he passed, that his government passed, he actually says, and I'm quoting, that the idea that you should not change gender, that idea is, quote, a myth and a stereotype. So the whole biblical concept that God created us male and female,
right,
and marriage is for one man and one woman for life, that is under the law a myth. And so yeah, it's unbelievable.
Strange.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is not. What is not is.
Well, what is evil is called good, and what is good is called evil now. And we see something like that written in the Bible, of course.
Of course,
There's a
people are
warning.
going away from the Bible.
Yeah.
It's euthanasia,
Right.
assisted suicide, going after the children. Other something about going after the mentally ill. Is that
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We have euthanasia legal here in Canada. So it's not just like you hear about in some jurisdictions in the world where you have assisted suicide, where the doctor or a nurse gives you a prescription, you can take some drugs and kill yourself.
Oh.
Here we actually have euthanasia, where the doctor or the nurse actually gives you a lethal injection themselves. So they administer it, they kill you. You're supposed to have, of course, given consent, but they do allow it for not just people who are very sick and dying naturally, but they allow it for people who just have a disability. Maybe you have hearing loss, maybe you're
What?
blind.
Oh no.
Yeah, and maybe and they are pushing to allow it for depression, mental illness. So if maybe you're suicidal, well, instead of you phone the suicide prevention line. Well, actually, now it's a suicide provision line. They'll tell you how to access your right to be euthanized, and and they also want to make it legal for children. And
Children. Why?
yeah, well,
Handicap?
they want to allow children who are disabled or have some sort of illness to commit suicide without their parents' consent. To do it if the doctor talks to the child and feels the child can make his own decision, even down to age
can't.
12 or so. Well, there's a push for this now, and even, of course, for infanticide, people are talking. Let's get the Quebec College of Physicians is saying, let's get infanticide going here for children age 1 and under. So it's just a huge death cult where
Yes, it is
just,
a death cult, and I like to get our country out of that.
Yeah, I know. This is happening so quickly here in Canada. Like legalized euthanasia, that was just in 2016. The transgenderism, I mean, we're talking 2021 for that bill that banned conversion therapy. All these things are happening quickly, and they're building on each other, and they're all connected. It's all connected with this attack on really God's creation, how God made us in His image, and that's what the root of it.
From the womb to the tomb, like I said.
Yeah.
The devil is trying to destroy humankind.
Yeah.
So they won't go home to heaven when it's time.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. But he wants to keep us in the dark, keep us away from God and His order and His law, and so that's what's happening.
How are you, Campaign Life Coalition, educating besides going on tour, talking to people on Zoom, and being a keynote speaker? How can we all come and help ourselves through you?
Yeah, well, we have a website. We have petitions that are available on our website, so people can come to the website and sign a petition. Many of these are open not just for Canadians, but for Americans as well to sign. If you're seeing or you're hearing about what's happening in Canada, you want to express your opposition to that, even as an American. People can sign that petition, and we present those petitions to the politicians, and we hold rallies based and present those petitions at the rallies. So that is one way anyone can be involved very easily. Of course, we have we have a whole voter website where you can find out about your elected officials in Canada and find out, well, what is their rating? Do they have a pro-life rating? Do they have a pro-family rating? We kind of give them a green light if they're solidly pro-life, pro-family. Yellow if they're not totally on board.
Caution.
Red light for
Caution.
a lot of them.
Red light
Good
is
resource.
no.
Yeah.
Green light is good.
Yeah.
Caution is yellow.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we want people to vote, use their vote to get good pro-life leaders elected.
Are there a lot of pro-life organizations, leaders there in Canada?
Yeah, there are a lot of pro-life organizations working. In fact, I would say there are literally hundreds, and they're at all levels. There are national organizations, there are provincial, and we have a lot of small local organizations. Every major city has a pro-life, a right to life group, I would say, and then there are, of course, pregnancy care centers. A lot of those are out there helping people. And so there are many, many good people working. We don't always work together as well as we should, and we're not as coordinated as we should be. But there's a lot out there, and there are some pro-life politicians too, and we are connected with them, and we're trying to work with them.
So networking would be make you guys solid. Put you guys together to battle this evil that's taken over our country, Canada.
That's right. Yeah. We need to be focused on that common cause and work together. It's very important.
For transgendering, how can we get these doctors from hurting or killing our children?
Well, I mentioned the case of the lady, Michelle, who had transitioned and now is detransitioned and regrets her gender reassignment. So she's suing the doctors. So she's actually suing them. And there is one way that's going to make a lot of doctors maybe take a step back and think twice. So if there are some lawsuits and they're successful, that's going to be helpful. I think that needs to happen. We need to continue protesting. We need to continue speaking out. So,
is there a high percentage of attempted suicide or completed suicide amongst the people who have been transgendered changed?
Yeah, this is one of the big problems. Those people who do transition, who try to be the opposite sex that as to what God made them, a lot of them go down that path because they have mental illness, depression, and they go down that path thinking it will somehow cure them. A lot of people are telling them it's going to cure them, but the reality is it doesn't. It just intensifies it. We find that a lot of people come out of that transitioning and they're worse. And there are a lot of people who are attempting suicide, committing suicide. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there is a higher percentage than the normal population among those who have gone through sex change, some sort of surgery or treatment. And there are many stories of people who've gone through that. So it is a real issue. But of course, the liberal left and the mainstream media, they'll say, well, the reason for that high rate of suicide and depression is because society doesn't accept them somehow, and they'll blame traditionally minded people and traditional mores, and but we know better than that. So
And what about psychologists? Do they try to help the kids before or after? Are they allowed to?
Well, in Canada now, you're not allowed to. There were people, doctors, professionals who were doing this, helping kids not go down this path, this dangerous path. And I know there was one clinic in Toronto and the doctor had to close when Bill C-4 passed. Basically, he had to shut down, and I think he's gone to the States. So you can't even help kids. You can only help them transition. You can't help them accept their own God-given body.
We need a new bill to break that.
We do for sure.
We're Canadian. We vote Canadian, and we're voting for pro-life, man. Pro-family, pro-woman, pro-children.
Yeah, this is life or death, and it's a spiritual battle, like you said, and we need to keep it at the forefront of all of our efforts here.
What would you like to say to my audience to give them hope that there's a silver lining at the end of the dark tunnel?
Yes, well, there is hope. We know who wins the battle in the end. Jesus has won, and we do know the end of the story because we have the book.
It is finished.
Yeah. Exactly. So we're fighting, and we have God on our side. And the battle can be very tough, very discouraging. I get depressed myself quite often. Sometimes I just want to tune out, but we got to keep in mind that God's with us, and he wants to use us to win this battle. He wants to work through us, and I think he wants to spur more and more of his people on and get us on board and online. And I think a lot of what's happening is for us to see that we are being called to action. So I think there's great hope, and people are seeing as more and more harms come about through transgenderism. As we see the fallout of abortion, we see people being euthanized who really were like family members, friends. My dad's neighbor, he was euthanized in his own home, just 2 doors down from my dad a few weeks ago.
So
as it comes close to home, I think we're going to start waking up and seeing that this is wrong, and there's going to be the pendulum's going to swing back at some point
to our God,
right?
The only one in the universe, anywhere, inside and out.
Yeah.
Invisible and visible.
Right.
So may the Lord be with you, sir.
Thank you. God bless you, Patty. Thank you for having me here today.
What'd you say?
Thank you for having me here, Patty. God bless you.
I like to have you back on again, sir.
That would be my pleasure.
So this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page, thanking our friend David Cooke from Campaign Life Coalition. We'd like to thank you, and God bless. See you next week.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my love. God is with us always for the rest of all our lives.